Today, as we near this solemn anniversary, it's fitting that we salute the extraordinary decade of service rendered. By the 9/11 generation, the more than 5 million Americans who've worn the uniform over the past 10 years. They were there, on duty, that September morning. Having enlisted in a time of peace, but they instantly transitioned to a war footing. They're the millions of recruits who have stepped forward since, seeing their nation at war and saying, "Send me." They're every single soldier, sailor, airman, marine, and coast guardsman serving today. Who has volunteered to serve in a time of war, knowing that they could be sent into harm's way? They come from every corner of our country, big cities, small towns. They come from every background and every creed. They're sons and daughters who carry on the family's tradition of service. And they're new immigrants who've become our newest citizens. They're our National Guardsmen and reservists who've served in unprecedented deployments. They're the record number of women in our military, proving themselves in combat like never before. And every day for the past 10 years, these men and women have succeeded together as one American team. They're a generation of innovators, and they've changed the way America fights and wins at wars. Raised in the age of the internet, they've harnessed new technologies on the battlefield. They've learned the cultures and traditions and languages of the places where they served. Trained to fight, they've also taken on the role of diplomats and mayors and development experts. Negotiating with tribal sheiks, working with village shuras, partnering with communities. Young captains, sergeants, lieutenants, they've assumed responsibilities once reserved for more senior commanders. And reminding us that in an era when so many other institutions have shirked their obligations, the men and women of the United States military welcome responsibility. In a decade of war, they've borne an extraordinary burden. With more than 2 million of our service members deploying to the war zones. Hundreds of thousands have deployed again and again, year after year. Never before has our nation asked so much of our all-volunteer. Force, that 1% of Americans who wears the uniform. We see the scope of their sacrifice in the tens of thousands who now carry the scars of war. Both seen and unseen are remarkable wounded warriors. We see it in our extraordinary military families who serve here at home, the military. Spouses who hold their families together, the millions of military children. Many of whom have lived most of their young lives with our nation at war and mom or dad deployed. Most profoundly, we see the wages of war in those patriots who never came home. They gave their all, their last full measure of devotion, in Kandahar, in the Korengal, in Helmand. In the battles for Baghdad and Fallujah and Ramadai. Now they lay at rest in quiet corners of America. But they live on in the families who loved them and in a nation that is safer because of their service. And today we pay humble tribute to the more than 6. 200 Americans in uniform who have given their lives in this hard decade of war. We honor them all. We are grateful for them. Through their service, through their sacrifice, through their astonishing record of achievement. Our forces have earned their place among the greatest of generations. Toppling the Taliban in just weeks. Driving Al-Qaeda from the training camps where they plotted 9/11. Giving the Afghan people the opportunity to live free from terror. When the decision was made to go into Iraq, our troops raced across deserts and removed a dictator in less than a month. When insurgents, militias, and terrorists plunged Iraq into chaos, our troops adapted. They endured ferocious urban combat, they reduced the violence and gave Iraqis a chance to forge their own future. When a resurgent Taliban threatened to give Al-Qaeda more space to plot against us, the additional forces I ordered to Afghanistan went on the offensive, taking the fight to the Taliban and pushing them out of their safe havens. Allowing Afghans to reclaim their communities and training Afghan forces. And a few months ago, our troops achieved our greatest victory yet in the fight. Against those who attacked us on September 11, delivering justice to Osama bin Laden. In one of the greatest intelligence and military operations in American history. Credit for these successes, credit for this progress, belongs to all who have worn the uniform in these wars. Today we're honored to be joined by some of them. And I would ask all those who served this past decade, the members of the 9/11 generation, to stand and accept the thanks of a grateful nation. Thanks to these Americans, we're moving forward from a position of strength. Having ended our combat mission in Iraq and removed more than 100,000 troops so far. We'll remove the rest of our troops by the end of this year and we will end that war. Having put Al-Qaeda on the path to defeat, we won't relent until the job is done. Having started to draw down our forces in Afghanistan, we'll bring home 33. Troops by next summer and bring home more troops in the coming years. As our mission transitions from combat to support, Afghans will take responsibility for their own security. And the longest war in American history will come to a responsible end. For our troops and military families who've sacrificed so much. This means relief from an unrelenting decade of operations. Today, fewer of our sons and daughters are serving in harm's way. For so many troops who've already done their duty, we put an end to the stop loss. And our soldiers can now look forward to shorter deployments. That means more time at home between deployments. And more time training for the full range of missions that they will face. Indeed, despite 10 years of continuous war, it must be said America's military is the best that it's ever been. We saw that most recently in the skill and precision of our brave forces who helped the Libyan people finally. Break free from the grip of Muammar Gaddafi. And as we meet the test that the future will surely bring. Including hard fiscal choices here at home, there should be no doubt, the United States of America will keep our military the best trained. the best led, the best equipped fighting force in history. It will continue to be the best. Now, as today's wars end, as our troops come home, we're reminded once more of our responsibilities to all who have served. The bond between our forces and our citizens must be a sacred trust. And for me and my administration, upholding that trust is not just a matter of policy, it is not about politics, it is a moral obligation. That's why my very first budget included the largest percentage. Increase to the VA budget in the past 30 years. So far, we're on track. To have increased funding for Veterans Affairs by 30%. And because we passed advanced appropriations, when Washington politics threatens to shut down the government. As it did last spring, the veterans' medical care that you count on was safe. And let me say something else about VA funding that you depend on. As a nation, we're facing some tough choices as we put our fiscal house in order. But I want to be absolutely clear, we cannot, we must not. We will not balance the budget on the backs of our veterans. As Commander-in-Chief, I won't allow it. With these historic investments, we're making dramatic improvements to veterans' health care. We're improving VA facilities to better serve our women veterans. We're expanding outreach and care for our rural veterans, like those that I met during my recent visit to Cannon Falls. Including two proud Legionnaires, Tom Newman of Legion Post 620 in Hugo, and Joseph Kidd. Post 164 in Stewartville. Are they here right now? They're out there somewhere. That was a good lunch, by the way. For our Vietnam veterans, because we declared that 3 diseases are now presumed to be related to your exposure to Agent Orange. We've begun paying the disability benefits that you need. For our veterans of the Gulf War, we're moving forward to address the 9 infectious diseases that we declared are now presumed to be related to your service in Desert Storm. At the same time, our outstanding VA Secretary, Rick Shinseki, is working every day to build a 21st century VA. Many of our Vietnam vets are already submitting their Agent Orange claims electronically. Hundreds of you, from all wars, are requesting your benefits online. Thanks to the new blue button on the VA website. You can now share your personal health information with your doctors outside of the VA. And we're making progress in sharing medical records between DOD and VA. We're not there yet. I've been pounding on this thing since I came into office. We are going to stay on it, we're going to keep at it until our troops and our veterans have a lifetime electronic medical record that you can keep for your life. Of course, we've still got some work to do. We got to break the backlog of disability claims. I know that over the past year, the backlog has actually grown due to new claims from Agent Orange. But let me say this, and I know Secretary Shinseki agrees: when our veterans who fought for our country have to fight just to get the benefits that you've already earned, That's unacceptable. So this is going to remain a key priority for us.